Hello everyone, this is Pal Ponder on Weather coming at you with another video. In this update, we're going to be talking about a major snowstorm with some heavy snow into Texas and some snow going into parts of the South. So before I do get started, if you do like weather related content, please subscribe to my channel as I will upload daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. And I do ask you to share this video with your friends and family on social media. All right, so let's get started. Here is the latest watches and warnings. And you can see a pretty good chunk of Texas is inundated right now with a winter storm watch. That is very rare for Texas. Even so rare, this extends all the way into parts of the Houston metro. It's the first winter storm watch they've had in 7 years for parts of the Houston metro. And that extends in places like Shreveport. That goes out to West Texas, the parts of the Panhandle, a winter weather advisory. Even New Mexico is on a winter storm warning currently. And they even have a freeze watch for you guys in Florida. And yeah, that means watch out for the following iguanas. So you guys in Florida know what I'm talking about. All right, so let me kind of give you an overview of the next 3 days and how this is going to play out. And then I'll kind of zoom in and go over a lot of the details. So here is Saturday morning, the January the 9th. Here's an overall depiction of the northwest flow. We've got that heavy rain moving in from the northwest. That's where these systems have come from. And as it kind of dives down to the southeast, it'll be dumping some snow into Utah, into Colorado, and getting into portions of the Panhandle later on today. And then you'll see kind of a mixed bag trying to creep into the Texas Panhandle, and it'll be kind of all rain into central Texas, kind of waiting for this main event that's going to take place for Sunday. So, because by Sunday, that system that was basically in the Pacific yesterday has just beelined a dive southeast overnight, and that will by Sunday start to have some very heavy snow into the Panhandle and western West Texas, and then you'll have a kind of a mixed precipitation all the way down into northern parts of the Houston metro, central Texas, getting into parts of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, central and northern Louisiana, Mississippi, even parts of Alabama and Arkansas will see some snow by Sunday, and then rain onto the south side. And then by Monday, that system will continue lifting off to the northeast with that mixed precipitation into Mississippi, Alabama, probably northern parts of Georgia. You guys in Atlanta are probably going to be on the borderline from this event, but you will see some in Tennessee, Kentucky, going into the Ohio Valley, into Virginia by Monday. So let's kind of zoom back and kind of zoom in and kind of where we're at. Here's the latest mesoscale model. I kind of use them short-term models now because that gives you a better guidance on how this is going to play out. This is a very dynamic system. It's a convective system, so these can be a little tricky. This will continue to dive southeast. This is later on this afternoon as this snow starts to set up in Colorado and starts creeping into parts of the Texas Panhandle. Now let's kind of zoom into this feature and how this is all going to play out. You can see by later on Saturday night, going into the early morning hours of Sunday, that snow will start to pick up into the Texas Panhandle, start creeping into places like Lubbock, where you start seeing a changeover. You can see where the low pressure is, and as this kind of moves to the east, it'll tap into some of that Gulf moisture from the south, rising the dew points, rising the relative humidity, which I'll go over here that in a little bit, and kind of that'll be a key role as well. And as we extend the view, you can see this moisture content starts to really deepen down to the south. And as it deepens, it'll just elevate the snow totals up above, where you have some very cold air that will scream in from the north, and you kind of have that overriding conditions kind of take place with some of that convective banding, and some of those deeper blues will start to set up by Sunday morning, the 10th by now. So you wake up in Lubbock, all snow, guys, and Abilene, all snow, and it's going to be a kind of a winter wonderland out there with probably 4 to 8 inches in places like Lubbock, 3 to 6 inches, places like Abilene, and this will continue pushing off to the east as we go deeper into the day on Sunday. Now, the reason right now, currently, the Dallas-Fort Worth area is not included in the winter storm watch is because we have a lot of dry air in place. Here's a picture of the relative humidity by Saturday evening, and you can see the relative humidity is it's saturated out west. That's where they're going to be picking up the snow into the 90s with relative humidity. But as we push off into central and get into North Texas, you can see these the humidity values are 50s and the 60s. So it's pretty dry. But as this continues pushing off to the east, you see these deeper blues start to show up. I mean, we have the relative humidity starting to creep in. This is by Sunday at noontime. And now we're talking anywhere from the 90s, almost 98 relative humidity, almost complete saturation. And where you see that complete saturation, that is where you're going to be seeing the highest snow totals. But as this system kind of moves through, like I said, it'll run into that drier air, and as it runs into the drier air and the precipitation moves in, as the snow starts to fall through the dry air out west, the snow will evaporate. And as it evaporates, it causes what they call evaporative cooling. And as that kind of takes place, that cooling yields higher relative humidity values. And as it kind of falls through the evaporational cooling will also help moisten up the atmosphere. And so as we kind of see that transition, I do feel that this main surge will be enough to include at least a winter weather advisory into the Dallas-Fort Worth area with potentially 1 to 3 inches for you guys in that area. As this dry air is kind of a fight, you're having a fight take place further north you go. So you're going to be picking up some of the higher amounts out west and south of the DFW Metroplex as this continues to push off. But yeah, the latest convective temperatures are running a little bit colder than what they actually showed yesterday. So as this moves in, going into 9 a.m., going into noon, you can see these temperatures are anywhere from, into the low 30s into the middle and upper 30s. And as that moisture pushes in and that evaporative cooling kind of takes place, that will lower the temperature several degrees. And I do feel that's where we'll have that changeover from a rain to a snow mix starting in, getting in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but some convective heavier banding down south of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Because as this kind of moves through, this is about noontime on Sunday, and I feel that's where the snow is probably going to start if you live in the Metroplex, and this will continue pushing off. You can see a lot of the deep moisture down to the south, and this just beeline of convective banding. So we'll see there's just a lot of moisture content with this particular system. So this is a very dynamic system. And I do think some of these things can overperform with this narrow banding kind of setting up and spots. And that is going to be very difficult to depict exactly where that's actually going to take place. But I do feel some of these snowfall totals will kind of overperform in some areas. So as this continues pushing off to the east, it'll continue tapping into that Gulf moisture. Look at all the moisture. See, this is a lot of liquid with this system. So it'll be rain to the south side, but as that cold pushes, it'll have that turnover effect, and that snow line will get deeper and deeper. Now we're going into places like Huntsville, places like Conroe, places like north of the Houston Metroplex. This is a little bit of a rarity event, and even though it's not possibly showing any type of snow in Houston, it's not out of the question that you could see it. I mean, I don't see accumulating snow for maybe South Houston, but I do, if you live in North Houston, I do see at least a little bit of accumulating snow as this pushes off. But yeah, places like Huntsville, you guys could be in that, convective banding zone where it's not out of the question you could have a 6 to 8 inch snowfall total even that far south with this convecting banding as this moves through. And these deeper blues, penetrate going all the way into Shreveport, places like Shreveport, central and northern Louisiana pick up on the snow, and this will continue to extend into Mississippi. And you can see on the backside, overnight on Monday now, that snow will start to taper off into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So I do feel like it's an event from probably say noon on Sunday, and then will extend all the way into the overnight, leaving with you with some snow tapering off by early Monday morning. But that snow will continue pushing off to the east with that very heavy snow, believe it or not. And the central and northern parts of Alabama could pick up several, Mississippi going into Alabama, several inches of snow from this event as this continues to push off to the northeast. And as this lifts, you can see that banding start to encompass Mississippi and Alabama. And then rain on the south side. Look at the darker reds, look at the darker yellows. You can see there's just a lot of convective burst with this system. So there's a lot of updraft going into this system. And where that look at the demarcation line of this turnover effect. So where that is, the cold air will start, continue trying to push south as this upward rising motion starts to, continue to lift northward. And so that's where that transition zone is going to take place of that snow and then heavier rains to the south. So where exactly that is going to set up is very difficult to determine, because it's a kind of a push-pull mechanism as it lifts off to the northeast. And as it kind of lifts off to the northeast, as this low continues to push further inland, it won't be able to tap into as much Gulf moisture as it has down to the south. And therefore, these snow amounts will start to greatly decrease as it pushes off to the northeast, extending, going into parts of Tennessee by now, going into Kentucky as well, and then northern Arkansas. But let me kind of show you some of the snowfall totals. I think I picked the latest NAM kilometer. It only goes out 60 hours, but I do feel like this has the best grasp of this particular event. I do feel like it has a better swath of a good 4 to 8 inches just south of the DFW Metroplex. Like I mentioned, like Lubbock, places like Abilene, a good 4 to 8 inches in this zone. So Central Texas will be picking up some of the higher amounts from this event. Waco, even down to Austin. Yes, you guys in Austin are going to be picking up some snow from this event as this continues lifting off into North Houston. This is accumulated snow. So just because it doesn't show even snow in these particular areas doesn't mean you might not see snow falling from the sky. It just may not accumulate in your area. So I do feel like even though this area may not show any particular snow, on the ground, I do feel at least you'll see some snow kind of falling as these big wet flakes fall from the sky. This event in some areas could pick up these huge snow globe type, snow, really pretty snow. This is going to be a really pretty snow because it's going to be a wet snow, a heavier snow, because the entire event is going to be above freezing. So, that's why I do feel like some of these higher amounts can elevate with a lot of moisture with this system. But as this continues lifting off, you can see central and northern Louisiana picking up a good swath of potentially 2 to 4 and isolated amounts of 4 to 6 inches. Like I said, this is a rare event for Louisiana, and this will push off into Mississippi with a 2 to 4 inch swath, and this will extend into northern Alabama. So you can see as this low creeps up, this line creeps up as well. So it takes away a good chunk of Alabama. Then it would take away even a better chunk out of Georgia, not seeing any snow from this event. And then as this low continues to lift northward, these lighter amounts will start to, the snow amounts will really start to decrease, and lighter amounts will take over into Tennessee and to Kentucky. If we expand the view into the latest Euro model, it kind of shows kind of the same thing with that heavier snow band just south of the DFW Metroplex, putting the heavier snows into West Texas, into Central Texas, extending into Louisiana and Mississippi. And then the latest UK Met model is also a little bit a better one too, that I'm showing you here of, like I said, a good 4 to 6 to 8 inch swath from Central Texas, West Texas, and this will extend to Louisiana, Arkansas, going into Mississippi and Alabama as well. So that is the latest from this heavy snow event into Texas with this latest winter storm. I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below. And don't forget to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.